Hi, my name is Gianmarco. I'm from Italy. I've been supporting Sunderland since 2010. How are the lads?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. Today I'm joined by Justin Warner from the SAFC NASA branch. Good morning to you, Justin.
Morning, how you doing?
Good, mate, good. And I'm also joined for the first time by fellow Bilbao Black Cats member Mark Beston. How are you, Mark?
Good afternoon here.
Good. So we're going to talk about the match yesterday where we won 1-0 against Middlesbrough in our fiercely contested local rivals. Won't call it a derby. But before we get into that, Mark, it's your first turn on the pod. So could you share your Sunderland story, please?
Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark. I was born in 78, so I'm now 46. Hey, my Sunderland story started when I was kids. You might notice from the accent, I haven't got a Northeast accent. So my family was always going to Roker Park, and I started going in 88. Hey, that was the first year Sunderland were back in the third division. So it wasn't a good start, but I saw lots of victories. And at the start, I've got I collect quite a lot of memorabilia. So I've got a few little things to show you, a few treasures to show you. So this is a Sunderland story. And for you that don't know this was Roker Park. And when I first started going to Roker Park, it was a typical case of my cousins being down at the bottom because I was younger. I was put on top of a stanchion by my dad when he was smoking 4 cigars a game and me eating 5 packs of fruit pastels a game. And there it started. My gran also was a tea lady in the main stand. So in the Roker Park main stand, there was a hole in the wall where you could get your tea or your bovril. And she kept me in touch because there was times I was living down south, like lots of other friends, and even abroad. So every holiday back to the UK, as many Sunderland games as possible. My favourite Sunderland player when I was younger, my favourite player was Gabbiadini. Gabbiadini and Gates, the G-Force, were a tremendous strike force. And they were the ones that put Sunderland back into the second division. And then I think if I jump through my highlights, so always going back to Roker Park, next sort of significant steps was after the World Cup in 1990. When I went back to Sunderland, I saw one game against Man United at home when they were on 2-1, beating Man United. And also one of the first games that Gascoigne and Lineker played for Tottenham back at Roker Park. So we caught Gascoigne after all the drama he had in Italy 90. And that was amazing to see. Also, the 99 was a famous playoff final against Swindon when Sunderland went up by default because Swindon weren't permitted to go up. And then we got back in the first division, which it was called then. This shirt is the original version of the new away shirt, which I'm quite proud fits me. And it fits my 14-year-old boy. I've got 2 boys, a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. So this shirt has special significance, even though we lost the cup final. And then jumping on to about 1996, moved back myself back to the Northeast. I was in enemy territory in Newcastle University for about 3 or 4 years. So had a season ticket in the times of the amazing Quinn and Phillips. And had a half season ticket 1 year and a full season ticket. And they were also amazing to watch. So I had the experience of the Roker Park, watched the new stadium like getting built, and amazing change, but still the same atmosphere. And then since then I met a Spanish girl, moved over to Spain, had a family going along, sort of jumps around just to finish off on the memorabilia stuff, because like many families have moved around. I'm sort of the custodian of lots of different memorabilia. I like collecting my memorabilia even more now in Spain. Now you're a bit disconnected, collect a bit more memorabilia. I like showing the members of the Bilbao Black Cats lots of different memorabilia, which they find interesting to learn about the history of the club. I've got all sorts of little treasures. Got a newspaper from 1937 when they won the cup. The famous Charlie Hurley that just passed away. This is Charlie Hurley in the promotion year. This is from my dad, 1964. And these things, when the Spanish lads see them, they see it's more than a club. Yeah, it's got lots of history in it. And lots of people like me have been given things from aunts and uncles and granddads just to keep. Another program from 73. And the last one, this is a history of Sunderland, yeah. So this is the centenary year from 1879 to 1979. So I have my little treasure box I take along to connect with the Spanish lads.
So quite a collection there to show the kids and fellow workers.
I basically joined the club because I noticed an article by Lee and Johnny on the Roker Report. Got in contact with them, and ever since then, it's been a good place for me. I'm also a junior football coach, and a lot of people, I suddenly got a bit of a surprise because people were talking to me that lots of Spanish kids go on English language football courses on the coast, but that are organised by Sunderland. And Sunderland has a really popular, successful football training coach. So along with the rest of the Peña, they call it in Spanish, which is a supporters club. Obviously, mostly Lee and Johnny, we organised a football tournament last year, which went very well. And unfortunately, it was only Spanish clubs. So if there's any English clubs, Sunderland supporters, now we've got to know other supporters associations from Germany, from Italy, we'll be organising details of that in the future. And it's a great event. And my boys over here got very excited about, playing just in the Sunderland theme. We did them a magazine. So it's a great way to introduce them to Sunderland. And that's it. The team at the minute, just quickly, I'm happy with the team. As usual, I think in any championship season, it can be up and down. We'll talk about that now, but I'm especially proud of the Fans Museum. I think the Fans Museum's unbelievable. The work they do in the community, it's had tough times in the community. I've always been back there, but it's got a bright future. Yeah, what they're doing with the bridges. I know some friends that are working on the new developments, and it's got a bright future, the city. So thumbs up.
Totally agree with that, Mark. Completely agree. Well, thanks for sharing your story there, Mark. All right, so now on to the match. Justin, we made one change yesterday, I think, didn't we? Chris Mepham came in for Dan Ballard, which was probably expected. Were you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, they said in the the presses beforehand that the Ballard would be fit for the game, but I didn't think we were going to take the risk of playing him straight off the bat. And thankfully Mepham has come in, and I thought he had a very, very solid debut for us. Fitted straight in. Nice to have a sort of right foot, left foot combination at the back. The defense looked pretty solid as a result.
Yeah,
I think that's a big improvement on the last year. If you're three, in between a 9, Ballard, Mepham, who's got international experience, got Premiership. Last year you'd have to bring in a player that was untested. Selt or move somebody a different position. Fingers crossed. I think that's a big plus, having a really experienced centre half, and he might be hard to knock out the side.
Yeah. It was a pretty fast start, wasn't it? Because we got a free kick on the far left-hand side, which we whipped in, and it fell for Dan Neil on the half volley, and he completely fluffed it. And then they almost scored from a header, didn't they, Justin?
Yeah, it's Dan Neil special, isn't it? He seems to make a habit of his air shots on the edge of the box. But they did break very quickly, and the header against the bar was, I guess, a bit of luck that we needed. But I think both teams for the first half hour or so was pretty end to end, pretty open. They did get I hate to say it, but it probably went the entertainment factor went down a little bit after we scored. I think we were happy to defend the lead, and Boro didn't really do a great deal with the ball. We were just happy to let them take it off us and sit back and let them play parallel passes. So, quick, fast to the game.
I think it was a bit of an unentertaining game, wasn't it? Because, I mean, if you look at possession, we had 38% and they had 62. We
Yeah.
had 6 shots and only 2 on target, and I think Boro had the same, but only 1 on target. So there wasn't really much to it, wasn't there? Mark, what did you make of the game?
I thought the game hopefully reflects on what it might be a bit more this season. I think they're apart from having those three centre halves I talked about before. I think they've got less gaps in the team now. Yeah, they've got especially the fullbacks. Sirkin makes a massive difference. Defensively and going forward, but defensively as well. And Hume is fantastic on the other side. That's a solid back four. And even though I agree the midfield is open and they had their chances, I think having that back four and hopefully getting the midfield a bit better stopped what they did last year. They didn't have that many long shots in this game.
Yeah. Justin, one of the big talking points then was on the 6th minute when Trey Hume came clattering into the Boro forward Lath. He got a yellow for it. Should it have been a red?
I don't think so. I think it was. I mean, it was definitely a yellow. But I think it would have been quite a harsh red card, particularly so early in the game. And I'm sure had the boot been on the other foot, it was one of our players on the receiving end been screaming for a red card. But yeah, I thought a yellow was fair on the balance of play. I mean, to Mark's point, I mean, Trey Hume's been had a good start to the season. I mean, he played well. He's probably one of our better players last season. He does have a bit of a habit of diving into challenges, though, which I think is a bit of a worry. When they come off, they're great, but yeah, I can see him picking up quite a lot of yellow cards as a result of it.
Yeah, Mark, would you agree with that? Strong yellow?
Yeah, I think so. In a derby game, you can't really give a red for that. No, I think we have to have one enforcer in the team. If you think all the cards that Catamol and people like this used to get, and I think he'll be okay. He'll be okay.
Yeah, I reckon if that's against another club and it's not a local rivalry game, I think that
Could
probably
be, yeah.
gets a red. But in the 6th minute of a local rivalry game, I
Yeah,
think the referee risks losing control of the game if he gives that a red. So I think
yeah.
probably a fair decision. Right, so on the 24th minute mark, Chris Rigg popped up with some magic with a lovely back heel, which if I'd attempted, I probably would have fallen over. It was some goal, wasn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. That's just football intelligence, yeah. It's not a fluke. It's I am running as fast as I can across the goal to the right hand side. Why are you going to think with your back to goal about passing to someone? You've got no option but to improvise. And his improvisation is just high quality at the minute. It's just, we need to protect him. He definitely, but these little things you have to take a risk, that moment of magic. That's why you have him in the side.
Yeah.
I liked a lot at the end, the interview. I don't know whether you guys saw it on Sky Sports because I saw it live. When it's been on the Instagrams, when Luke O'Neill let him speak and then he just gently took him by the shoulder and sort of led him away like more a dad than a big brother. That was just great moment.
Yeah. It also shows some huge confidence for a lad of 17 years old
Yeah,
to do that on such a big stage. Like it's such an important
yeah.
game as well. In front of what, 43,000, I think there was the attendance. So Justin, Chris Rigg going forward, is he undroppable at the minute?
I think you'd have to say on current form, yes. So it was a filthy piece of play yesterday. I mean, really, really beautiful goal. I think it was even possibly a Rabona back heel as well because it was with his right foot. So yeah, doubly impressive for that. But yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have the options at the moment because Brown is probably going to be out for another week or so. I don't think the Serbian lad, I mean, he's playing for the under-21s today. I don't think he's ready to start. Samid is probably going to be out he may be available for the Watford game. So I'm not sure we have the options at the moment to drop Rigg. But even if we did, I don't see that he would lose his place at the moment. I think it's just, as Mark said, it's the sort of overall confidence of his play. but it's just the whole package really. I mean, he puts himself about. He was getting down into sort of the right back channel, making challenges, coming out with the ball cleanly. So yeah, I don't see that we can drop him, and certainly an integral piece of the puzzle for Lebris at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't seen much of Alexic, like at Sunderland or away from Sunderland. He's 18 years old. He is a Serbian international, but from what I saw at the players' meeting with the fans earlier this week, is that his English is not a very high level. So, Mark, do you think that could have an impact on how much time he spends on the pitch this year?
Yeah, I think you'll see him in cameo appearances from the bench. You know, Juice and Benitez case. You know, I think that here, you know, when first Juice and Benitez came, he did contribute when he came on, offered raw pace, and they'll always have a dip players like this. So when we get up to sort of in the winter, 2 games a week, I'd stick Alexis on the bench, even if he hasn't got good English. You know, what's the harm? And you know, Juice and Benitez is now nowhere to be seen, trying to convert him. But these players, unknown players, you know, they're in their national sides for a reason. So if you can throw them on for 15 minutes, and I do think Rig at one point will have to have a break.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, moving on then. Just before the half-time break, Justin, we had strong claims for a penalty. Romain Mundle seemed to get a little nudge or a little clip on the heels by Luke Ayling. I've watched it back lots of times, and I can't decide. I think it's one of those that if it's a defender running back and he gets that, it's a free kick. But in the penalty area, I just think that I don't think the pushing his back is enough for him to go down that way. But then again, if you look at a different angle, you can see there's a little coming together with the heels, with the legs. I think Mundle kind of stops and is waiting for the contact. And I would say that the argument for the penalty will be rather than the push, maybe the clip of the heels. I don't know what you made of it.
Yeah, I thought it was more of a push than I didn't spot the heels coming together. But it I mean, it's similar to the Hume red card. It's sort of had it been the other way around, we probably would have been incensed if penalty had been given against us. But and in the replays, you can see that Ayling definitely does straighten his arm and does push him in the back. Does he go down easy? Yeah, probably. I mean, you've seen them given, but at the same time, in this case, we didn't get the decision. Would have been interesting to see if VAR would have overturned it. I'm not convinced they would have done. But similarly, had it been given, I don't think VAR would have overturned it either. So, yeah, it's disappointing not to get it, but yeah, we move on.
Well, luckily it didn't. Yeah, sorry, Mark. Luckily it didn't cost us because straight after, Mark, you're going to mention that, I think, they went down the other end and they almost scored, didn't they?
Yeah. After living 20 years in Spain for a start, for me, that's a stonewall penalty. Like, if you're clumsy in the box as a defender, it's a penalty. And yeah, but it could have, half time came at a good time.
Yeah. Right. Well, moving on then. We mentioned before that Chris Mepham made his debut. I think it was pretty no nonsense, didn't he? He didn't take risk. He just got the job done. Mark, what do you think of his performance?
I thought it was excellent. I think it's what we were lacking again, what I said before last year. And, just as well we came in at reasonably last minute. You need experience and know-how. You need it. Okay. You can have as many young players as you like. And I've got a lot of patience with them. And, I don't think they're to blame, but you need a mix. You need a mix. And he was calm, collected, and really good. And doesn't seems, physically strong enough, tall, excellent.
Yeah. Justin, what were your thoughts on Mepham's performance? As good as Stan
Yeah.
Varga?
That's a high bar, isn't it? But yeah, it was a very good first appearance for the club. I think he showed a nice turn of pace as well. I think it was they had a bit of a breakaway later in the second half, and he chased them down and got back and made a good tackle. So it's something that perhaps is missing a little bit from Dan Ballard's game. It's just that bit of pace as well. So yeah, I think he's solid. As with a lot of these sort of positions, I think as Mark said, when we're playing twice a week, It'll be interesting to see whether we stick with the same back two, whether we sort of rotate players in and out. But yeah, I think it's going to be hard for Dan Ballard to force his way back in. And yeah, hopefully, anyway, it's a good problem for a registered breed to have. I can see Ballard and Mepham playing well together. Again, that right foot, left foot combination at the back. Ballard does seem to play better with a experienced defender. I think last season when he had Danny Bath playing with him, it seemed to take some of the pressure off him. And his positioning is a lot better this season. But yeah, having that he's not that much older than him, but having that player with Premier League and international experience as well, I think can only stand him in good stead. It's going to be a tricky decision as to who drops out, or whether the question may be whether we move to a back three at some point. There may be games where that may be a better formation for us, and I could see a back three of Ballard, Mepham and 09 working pretty well as well.
Yeah. Mark, avoiding injuries, 09 and Mepham going forward, would you say?
Yes. I think that's why it's good to have three options. You know, I would have, after last week's, mistakes in the Plymouth game, I would have even if he was fully fit, I would have been tempted to give Ballard a break. So, that might happen to a 9 in the future. Yeah. So I think it's good to have three options and plus. And so in the future, if it was no injuries, my first choice, I don't know, it's controversial. I'd have Mepham in and then Ballard or a 9. I don't know.
Well, because at the end of the day, yeah, Mepham, he's not our player. He's only on loan, and I don't know if there's an option to buy or if it's just a straight loan.
That'd be worrying. Yeah.
Isn't he? He's out of contract at the end of the season, I think, isn't he?
Is he
So,
as well? So
yeah,
he could
I
force
believe
himself a move as well.
Yeah.
All right then. Moving on. One point I've got here is the Mundle and Serkin partnership. So like Romain Mundle, he's been absolutely outstanding since he came in for Jack Clark. But what I've noticed is that Dennis Serkin doesn't seem to go on the outside as much. He goes inside, and I think Mundle, his best play is always when he cuts inside, because when he goes down the outside, he doesn't seem as confident on his left foot. So I don't know if you've noticed that, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I think second half we played a lot narrower as well. So Serkin was playing infield more than he would have been anyway. So Mundle was definitely having to track the wingers back, and definitely put a shift in that regard. And I think that's been the problem with the Plymouth against Plymouth and yesterday against Boro. So obviously, they have pretty pacey wingers, and I don't think Hume or Serkin got forward as much as they have been sort of in the earlier parts of the season. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get to play against a team that's a little bit more open down the flanks, how it turns out. But it certainly seemed to be sort of the tactics of the team was to play relatively narrow, and that obviously forces Mundle to work on his own. Yeah, like you say, sort of, I think he does offer sort of a little bit less predictability than Jack Clark. I mean, Jack Clark always wanted to come in on his right foot. I think Mundle does have the ability to go outside, and he did make the byline a couple of times and get crosses in, but obviously his left foot is not his strong one. But yeah, I think good partnership, and obviously on the other side, Roberts and Hume as well, who've played together for a much longer period of time. And they seem to have a good understanding as well. And yeah, thankfully Roberts seems to have cut out some of his weird square balls, like blind square balls that he used to play across the back when he was defending. Yeah, looks good on both flanks.
Yeah, I was thinking yesterday of the part where Roberts took the ball on the right hand side, and Chris Rigg basically just made a run down the outside, took away a couple of defenders, and just like created a gap for Roberts. Who one day he's gonna score a screamer, isn't he? But he's gonna score a screamer on that left foot. So yeah, I'd like to see Dennis Serkin maybe going a bit on the outside a bit more and create that space for Mundle to go inside. Right, Mark, Dan Neil. He's captain, he's team captain. he's playing in a different role. He's playing in a defensive midfield role. For me, he's not getting involved as much as he used to. What are your thoughts on his performances?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the one part of the team that worries me a bit, especially against physical teams, which is always the problem we've had. I think it's a bit unfair on Dan Neil. I think he's not that type of player. I think he should get protected more. And I think lots of people have said it. I'd like to see this new lad resigned, and he'd bring a more physical presence. And I know little about him, like lots of people, but what I've seen, that seems more his game. And I think Dan Neil, yeah, I think Alan Brown at the start of the season helped him. He's a bit more physical player, but then he's got a goal in it. I think we need a sitter. We need a sitter. An anchor man, a sitter that, as you say, takes the pressure off Dan Neil because yeah, he's not quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, we love him because he's a local lad, but as soon as Samed's fit, is his place at risk?
I would say so, yeah. I think so. It's first half it was pretty anonymous. Second half, as I say, we tended to play a bit more narrow, and he was making himself available more, and he was making more of the passes out to the flanks. But yeah, like Mark said, it's not really his his natural game. He's not cut in that mold. So yeah, you've got a player who's played Champions League, who is a natural defensive midfielder. I think it's once he's fit, I think he's going to be pushing hard. And sort of to your early question about whether Chris Rigg is undroppable, it may be more of a case of Samed comes in where it allows us to rotate the players in front of him, and perhaps Dan Neil, Job, and Chris Rigg sort of rotate through as well. So I think Dan Neil's more natural position is a little bit further forward. So yeah, having Samed at the base of the midfield could work well for him as well.
Yeah, it's just with
Even going back to sort of Luke 09, if the Ballard and Mepham partnership works well, there could be games where you've got a back five attacking wing backs and Luke 09 just in front of them, just patrolling the attacking midfielder of the other team. I don't think that's crazy to say. In a few games where I need more solidity at the back, Luke 09 goes back until his sort of defensive midfield role.
Yeah, I think, I mean, nowadays, I mean, we don't even talk about Luke O'Nien now in a different position, do we not? We just consider him a centre back. I mean, he's played right back, he's played midfield. I think, Luke O'Nien is better in the centre back because he's focused. He's paid so much attention into that role. He's learned the role, and he's so focused on his game that when he plays, he's always reading the game. He's never really focused on anything else apart from his own game. So I think if you move him, I think it could affect his performances as well. So I'd keep him there. The one thing with Dan Neil is every time he plays in that defensive midfield role, I always get the visions in my head of the Burnley game last season, I think it was, or the season before, and the Sheffield United game, when in the Sheffield United game he got a red card for losing possession, getting caught in the ball. And I think one of the Burnley goals when they beat us 4-2, he got caught in the ball in the same role. I just think that he always seems to turn to trouble. I think it's like he's better when he's facing their goal rather than with his back to their goal. So, anyway, moving on. Justin, does Mayenda need a rest?
I don't think it's necessarily a case of him needing a rest. I mean, we're only 6 games in, so you'd like to think that he's not knackered by now. But I think we perhaps have to tune our forward play to how we're playing sort of in midfield and in defence. I think when we have the press, which we didn't really play yesterday, I think Mayenda I would say he's a critical part of it, but he does lead the press very well. High energy, puts himself about, does that really well. Yesterday, when we weren't pressing, he did look a little bit lost, and he's not really making the runs that would allow the midfield or the wide players to play him in. I think that's more of a sort of natural part of Isidore's game. So yeah, I think if we play that way again, it wouldn't be a bad idea to give Wilson Isidore a run out front, because I think he does make those runs into the channels better. He's a bit more pacey than Mayenda. Although they also say Mayenda's quick, but he hasn't really demonstrated that in any of the games. I know it's just he's not had the opportunities other than Sheffield Wednesday. I think he had a breakaway, but yeah, I don't think he's in need of a break for being tired. I think sort of tactically though, I think we need to work with the tools that we've got and try and play the best front three that's available to us for those tactics.
Mm-hmm. Mark, would you be happy to go with Mayenda for the duration of the season as the main centre forward?
No, but you know, it's like what Justin's saying and everyone else is saying. For what he's been asked to do this season, I think he's done it very well. I mean, he's scored a couple of goals. He is a specimen. He's a physical presence. You know, he's not been knocked off the ball. I think he's a big improvement of Rusin. So he should be, you know, if you're in a manager working out your squad, he should be an excellent third option, I think. And I'm not sure whether, you know, obviously at the moment we've got very few. I'd like to see Isidore start a game to see if he can become a number 2, for example. And, you know, we all need one in the winter window as a number 1. But as we are now, then, you know, I'd give Isidore a game, but I wouldn't be surprised if we work better with Mayenda for his physical presence at the minute.
Yeah. Right. Well, I've had a couple of posts about this on social media, and Justin, you brought it up before we came online. Anthony Patterson's kicking. And Justin, you want to make a couple of points about this?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of joked the other day that sort of Anthony Patterson. I'm not sure which is his strong foot. I think he's right-footed, but I think he kicks the ball equally badly with both. I think he tries to press the play too much sometimes, and he does, as a result, does tend to play risky passes, particularly down the middle of the park to players that quite often result in turnovers that put us under pressure. Playing out to the wings, I mean, we're not blessed with a huge amount of height, and there wasn't really anybody close to him, so it's hard to pick him up on those kind of balls that he's playing, but they did generally result in turnover of play. I mean, it's just I guess a pattern of modern football. I sound like an old git now, but sort of the constant need to play out from the back. It would be nice just every now and then to just spank the ball down the field and get rid of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of teams, almost all teams, seem to be sort of hell bent on having a ball playing goalkeeper and playing the ball out from the back, and I think it just invites unnecessary pressure. You do need to change it up a little bit every now and then, just whack the ball along. And again, that fits into the Mayenda playing conundrum. He's much better. He's a good hold up man as well, so it would allow him to play a little bit higher up. I think that's part of the problem yesterday, was we just ended up with 10 men in our own half. We didn't really have an out ball.
Yeah, and then the flip side of that is that he's got 4 clean sheets out of 6 as well. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, sort of obviously yesterday he didn't have that many shots to actually deal with.
Yeah,
and the ones that he did have, or the one that he did have, he dealt with well. Obviously their finishing was a bit woeful as well, but yeah, I mean, he's been blessed in as much as the team setup has reduced the number of shots that he's had to deal with. And I mean, even the Plymouth goals, I know he got picked up on it for a couple of them, but I mean, the own goal he made a great save for before.
Yeah.
I just think he does lack a little bit of sort of rebound control sometimes.
Yeah.
Great shot stopper, but he is prone to sort of just spooning the ball into random positions.
We're worried about his butterfingers against Plymouth.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, I think he has got better with the crosses and balls coming into the box. I think that's one area he has improved on. He's getting more on his punches now, and he's like He's a big lad. All right, then we'll move on to the preview of next week. We play Watford away. Mark, would you go with the same team?
I would. I would be. I think Alan Brown's confirmed he's out, isn't it?
Yep. At least another week or so.
Yeah, I'd pretty much go with the same team. Difficult game, but I think I'd say a little bit. Plymouth away is not easy, so hopefully a better away performance.
What would your prediction be, Mark? Do you reckon?
I think we could sneak a 2-0 even.
A 2-0. Justin, what are your thoughts for next weekend?
I think it very much depends on what side they put out against Man City in the cup on Tuesday.
Well,
And if they put out a reserve team, they'll probably get spanked. I think if they put out the full strength side, they'll probably get spanked. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get through that game. Obviously, we've got a full week. I would be inclined to play the same 11. Perhaps I haven't seen anything of Watford to be brutally honest. So don't know how they're setting up, but I'd like to see us try and go back to a bit more press. So yeah, keep Mayenda up front to save Isidore for the super sub appearance. A little bit less confident. I know they lost against Norwich this weekend. I'm thinking we might be due a draw, so I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. Right. I would probably go for the same team, and I reckon we can sneak a 2-1 win. Goal scorers, I've no idea, but I reckon we could sneak a 2-1 win. I think they had a good start, didn't they? Because there was them and us that were on, was it 3 games out of 3 games, 3 wins at the start of the season, and then since then they've had a couple of bad results, and I think now they're sitting in 10th, I think, or 9th. I'm not sure where they are.
Yeah.
So it just shows how quickly you can drop off. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you for your time today. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, my name is Nicolas. I'm from Uruguay. I've been supporting Sunderland since 2010. And how are the lads?